So I'm going to start the recording and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited that you're here. I'm not sure how many of you were here last week, but last week we hosted part one of our Cool Tools webinar, and that focused on cutting content to increase online learner engagement and active learning, and also creating community. So by building trust and encouraging online learners to explore their social and teaching presences. So today, Alex is going to finish with part two, focusing on cultivating connection and communicating care. I just want to make sure you're all aware that our recordings are posted on our event website in the playlist. So I'll pop that in the chat for you. And I'll be sharing with you the folder of resources that Alex will be presenting from so that you can follow along. So Alex, I will stop sharing and I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us today and coming to hang out and spend your lunchtime with us to learn for part two of the Cool Tools workshop. I'm going to share my screen so we can start. And I'm going to share sound. And all righty, so here we are. If you were here with us last week, then you were here, as Erin said, to learn a little bit about which ones were the ones we did last week. I think we did I lost it. Here it is. No, here it is. Sorry. We did content and connection last week, and so this week we're going to do community and care. And I want to mention and point out again this week that the link for all of the resources that we're going to talk about is here, and Erin will pop that in the chat for you. So don't worry about capturing any links while during the presentation. You're going to get them all at this URL, and in that it's like a goodie bag. There's a bunch of stuff in there, and so everything that I'm going to show and from last week as well as from this week is in there, including this document that has the whole list of links for each of the 4 C's. So cut content, create community, cultivate connection, and communicate care, and then some additional links and even some bonus links. So all of the stuff is in that goodie bag. Today, here, let me just show you my family. That's me and my child Arrow, my husband Dan, and our little dog Bella, all saying hello. And I know that many of you are from SUNY, but some of you may not be from SUNY. And this is just to give you a sense of who we are in New York State. And I am over here by Western Central New York, near Schenectady Community College. I'm actually sitting in my kitchen, probably a mile from Schenectady Community College. And Erin is over near Rochester, near, what's your nearest? Is it Finger Lakes, Erin?
Finger Lakes Community College.
Yeah, so if you go along the Mohawk, due west, before you hit Buffalo, you'll see the lakes, and the Finger Lakes, and then right towards the first one that you see there, closest to Buffalo, is Finger Lakes. That's where Erin is sitting. And so, yeah, if you're here, whether you're from SUNY or from outside of SUNY, if you would put your name and your title, your institution, where you're tuning in from, then we can get a sense of who's here with us and a little bit about you. So that would be super cool to know who you are. So last week we did a Mentimeter to decide which of the 4 C's from the Cool Tools presentation we were going to focus on first. And then also we did a little ice breaking activity. So we're going to do that in a second to try and understand more about who's in the room with us. But these are the 4 C's, and there are tools and practices and approaches that comprise these 4 C's. And so this is the overall agenda for both last week's session and this week's session. The one thing that I want to mention, because this is a presentation on Cool Tools, is that you really want to make sure that you're using the right tool for the job. And this is actually a picture of my house in the winter not too long ago. And that is my husband that is raking the snow off of our roof. And you can see that tool that he's using is the right tool for that job, because it's actually quite dangerous to do that in case there's ice or a bunch of snow that might come down on your head if you're not using the right tool. So I like this picture to, when I talk about tools, that it's always the right tool for the right job, and always considering what pedagogical objective you have, what instructional objective you have, and then deciding if there is a tool or an approach that might help you achieve that objective in some way that makes it better or faster or easier or cheaper, more efficiently, more effectively. And so it's always pedagogy first. Of course, you know, some of us like to play with tools and experiment with tools and try and understand how tools might be used to enhance engagement or interaction or effectiveness or efficiency. I'm one of those people. I like very much playing with tools. But that's one of my instructional objectives in my course, is to evaluate technologies for academic and professional purposes. So always I want to remind myself and others that it is pedagogy first when thinking about Cool Tools. All right, so today we're gonna, I'm gonna demonstrate some stuff, and I'm gonna give you the opportunity to try it out and leave you with some tools that I've set up for you to play around with and to continue the conversation. We'll get to try out a couple of them today. And so the first thing I wanted to share with you, I shared this last week also, and this is a wonderful list that has been around for 16 years, maybe 17 years. And I love this list. It's gone through many iterations, and it's updated annually. And it really is a big old list of, I guess you have to fill out a survey first in order to get the list. But so it's my go-to list to look at what is being, you know, they're ranked from 1 to 100, and I always love checking the list for new things that are coming up, and for things that were there last year that have shifted around in terms of their rank. So I like sharing this list with folks. So check it out when you have a chance. Like I said last week in part 1, we did content and connection. And so today we're going to focus on creating community and care is in the second one. So let's look at community first. Let's so one of the ways that you can create community, obviously, is to do ice-breaking activities and to get to know who you have in front of you, whether there are students or people that you're presenting to or training, depending on your role. And so I'm going to ask Erin to pop the Mentimeter link in the chat so that you can tell us 3 cool or unique things about you. And then you can actually experience using this tool, which is called Mentimeter. It's a polling tool. There's lots of different polling tools out there. I like this one. It's really easy to use, free. And easy to set things up, and I use the free version. Have used it in a number of presentations, and so once you get the link, and you can do it in 2 ways. You can either use the actual direct link, or you can go to menti.com and use the number. And so the number there is 62439753. And so they're starting to come up. This is a dynamic thing that you can do in a class or in a synchronous class, or you can even do it online asynchronously to poll your learners about whatever it is you'd like to poll them about. And so here the question is, what are 3 cool, unique things about you? I saw Hawaii in there. Aloha, friends from Hawaii. I lived on the Big Island for 5 years and on Oahu for 3 years. I got my master's degree at the University of Hawaii, so that's awesome.
Oh my God. I am also from the Big Island.
Oh, yay. My brother-in-law and my nephews live there on the Hilo side.
Yeah, me too. I'm in Honolulu.
Oh,
Aloha from Maui.
Aloha from
Maui. Is that Malay?
Y'all can be Big Island. Maui no ka'oi.
Ole mele, ole mele.
Aloha.
Well, I still have my a Hawaii credit card at the. I want my Kama'aina status. So nice to have you. I don't know what time it is in Hawaii. Is it
Same here.
6 in the morning or
I
something?
don't know if Mele is there, but I'm not. I'm in the Catskills.
I'm in Genesee County now.
Okay, all right.
In-state residency for my daughter who goes to college in New York City. Then I move home when she's done.
Awesome.
It's 6 a.m.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, whoa, someone really wants to be here at 6 a.m. All right, retiring in June, nursing professor, someone who likes to kayak, only one in the office right now, a mom, a baker, a teacher, a grandfather. Oh, look at all of you. Inquisitive, fun, father of 3. Oh, this is awesome. Thank you for sharing a little bit about you. Someone who's always learning, worked at the White House. That's intriguing. A camper, someone who shares their knowledge, likes to travel, achiever. That's awesome. And you see the big one. So I think the more that people duplicate them, the bigger they get. So educator, happy, and mom seem to be multiples, people who are multiples. Someone's the oldest of 7. Wow, yay. Supportive, a writer, a photographer. Yeah, look at avid runner, someone who lives in Florida. I like to take pictures too. A therapist, working on EDD. Yay. That is awesome. Someone who's driven. Yeah, so this is us. This is us who's here today. And I'm so very happy to meet you and to, share some of what I know about some of these topics and about some of these tools. All right, so I'm demonstrating the use of how this could be used as a synchronous ice-breaking tool to you using this particular tool. Now, again, there are many polling tools out there. Zoom itself has a polling tool. I like this because it has a variety of types of polling, like this word cloud. It also has, like we used last week, the bar graph. And like I said, I use the free version. There are other versions of this that have additional features and functionality. And so you can see and check out what might be right for you or for your department or your institution. For me, the free one works just fine. So I haven't really ever had any problems with being able to do what I needed to do using the free version. So just one of the options, demonstrating it for you and inviting you to give it a try in your instruction or in your work, if you're an instructional designer, to do any number of things to pull your students or your stakeholders, whoever you're talking to learn more about them and get information from them in a poll kind of a format. All right, so continuing in the creating community section, I'd like to share with you this other tool to enhance engagement, and it's called Jamboard. And if you're familiar with Jamboard, you can raise your hands and let me know or pop it in the chat that you've used it. But for those of you who have not used it, it's essentially a whiteboard, an online in the cloud whiteboard that is a Google product. And so super easy to use, free. And it allows you to do sort of synchronous or asynchronous collaborative activities with your students or with your faculty, depending on your role. So I set one up for us to play around with. And Erin will pop the link to this in the chat. You should be able to get into it and have a place where you can kick the tires on the tool. You can add sticky notes. Like you see there, you can change the color and size of the sticky note and what you type onto the sticky note. You can type, draw lines or objects. And so I have this slide on here as an example. There is this laser pointer thing that I just activated. And there's 3 slides here. So on the second slide, the first one was just sort of to show you the different tools that you have available to you. Along the left-hand side of the slide, you'll see, the pen tool, the eraser tool, the select tool, the sticky note tool, adding an image, objects, text, and laser. Well, the first one was highlight, not laser. And so the second slide, and you just hit the little arrow to the right to get to the second slide. And I thought, to give you the chance to play around with this tool, you could answer this question. So what do you think has the most impact on your students learning online? And you can do that in any way you want. You could add a picture that represents what you think. You could use the type tool to just put your thought down. You can use a sticky note and color it to and type on it to share your thought about that. And so I'm wondering who the first brave soul is going to be to put.
Alex, it looks like we only have view access. Are you able to change that quickly in your settings?
Let me check.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. I'm not sure how that happened. So yeah, let's change that to editor.
There we go.
Are you seeing how I did that? It was pretty easy. All right, so you should be able to get in there and interact now. And if you still can't refresh the screen, and you should now have access. I see somebody on there.
Yep, as long as you refresh your window there, it works.
Yay, yay,
Thank
yay.
you.
Meaningful and timely feedback. Thank you. This is pretty cool. So there's so many things you can do with this. Right now, I'm using this as a brainstorming activity. I've posed a question and I'm asking you to contribute your thoughts on this question. But you could do critiques this way. You could put a student could put a portfolio of their work up and and you could have critiques synchronously or asynchronously around whatever the image is, the written piece of work. There are so many creative uses of this sort of live, and it can be done synchronously or asynchronously. You could just set this up for anyone to come to at any time to interact with. And so, yeah, this is a really awesome tool, and you can do whatever you want in this demo, kick the tires on it, test out all of the different tools and the features and functionality. Yep, someone just turned the background color. Yay, it's okay. You do whatever you want with it. It's really intended for you to play around with. All right, so I'm going to leave this here. This will continue to be here for you to play around with at your leisure. And I'm going to move on to another tool, which is a tool called Flip. And you can let me know in the chat or by raising your hands or whatever if you've ever used Flip before. Flip is a way of interacting or engaging with students via video. And it allows you to have sort of a asynchronous video discussion. And so I have a little video to share with you a little bit what it is about. And I don't know if I am going to play the video for you, but you have the link to it. It's only 2 minutes. It's actually 3 minutes long. And it gives you sort of an overview of how it works and what it looks like, just so that you can get a sense of what it is. And then I created for us to play around in a flip, and I've got this set up with a video that I sent or I created, and it's a prompt to ask for some interaction from you all so that you can test this tool out. So you will need to create an account to participate in this, and Erin will put the link to that first flip link in the chat so that you can go in and make your account. And then once you have your account, and you're comfortable, you can look at that little video and then come to the link for the demo page that I've created for come on in, the water's fine. And then I created this little thread to connect so that you and all of us that are here today can continue this conversation through Flip, using Flip, so you get the sense and have the experience of trying it out. It's very easy. You have 90 seconds or less to introduce yourself or to share your favorite cool tool or a question you might have. And so I went in and did the first one. And so I'm going to see if it'll let me play it for you. Here we go. Hi, everybody. I'm here testing out Flipgrid. So this is my introduction. And I am really liking this tool, and I want you to try it out, and we can continue our conversation, and maybe you can share your favorite cool tool with me, and we can continue the conversation beyond the presentation. I'd also love to know a little bit more about you and any questions you might have. So go ahead and give it a try. Come on in, the water's great. All right, so I set this up as a demo, as I mentioned, and there's two threads here, 2 topics. One is Let's Connect, that I just showed you, and I had done a starter video on that one, or a response, and then one for ideas. So if you have anything else that you want to chat about, you can pop it here just so that you can see. You can have multiple topics, and then I'm going to be excited to see who joins this and who tests it out and what you have to say, and we can have asynchronous conversations, video conversations using this tool. So I hope you will check it out. All right, I'm gonna move along to another activity that I want to test out with you. So this resource page is a page full of ideas for synchronous online interactions. And we often talk a lot about asynchronous online interactions, and Flipgrid, for example, is asynchronous. Jamboard can be synchronous or asynchronous. Mentimeter can be synchronous or asynchronous. But here in SUNY Online, most of what we talk about is typically asynchronous interaction. So I wanted to share with you a resource page for synchronous interaction. Many of us since COVID have been using synchronous online interaction to teach or to enhance our teaching. And so I wanted to share with you a bunch of tips and suggestions for enhancing your instruction with synchronous interaction. And one of the main things, there's a lot of information here and then a lot of resources, but you know, the key to having a good synchronous experience with your students or with your stakeholders is to make sure that you set expectations up clearly and well, so that everybody knows and understands, you know, how it's supposed to work, what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it. So I thought I would test out one of the activities that you can do in a live synchronous instructional environment like Zoom. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to open your chat. And this is called a Zoom bomb, and it's not the other kind of Zoom bomb, the bad kind. This is a fun one. And what I want you to do is type the answer to the question I'm going to ask you in the Zoom chat, but don't hit enter. Don't send it until I tell you to. So so the question is, what's your best advice for building class community online and building trust and expressing your social presence in an online instructional environment? You could also give me your favorite tool for doing that, or give us your favorite tool for doing that. Yeah, waterfall bomb. That's great. Yes, waterfall bomb. It's awesome. So go ahead, open your chat. In the chat field, type your answer to that question, but don't hit enter. Don't submit your response until I say to do that. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few seconds to type in your answer. I like Zoom waterfall better. The waterfall bomb, yeah, that differentiates it better from like the negative Zoom bomb connotation. And I have in these lists of resources how to, you know, somewhere in here, how to make sure, you know, deter Zoom bombers. So in case you're wondering about the sort of the negative connotations of that. But this waterfall bomb is super cool. All right, if you're ready, go ahead and press enter and watch the chat. So that is so cool. So Google is a favorite tool. Share about yourself first, setting the tone, model what you're looking for, offer the intro as a written or video, give choice. I love that one. Creating a weekly assignment overview video so they can hear you and see you, your weekly announcements too, and giving students the choice to do that. That's awesome. Regular and specific feedback. You use Flip. Oh, Lucy uses Flip. Awesome. Making students feel comfortable with video for introductions, feedback, and discussion. Awesome. So you can see that all of a sudden, all of these engaging interaction responses popped into the chat, and it was like a waterfall, and it was all at once, giving everyone the chance to have their own original contribution before seeing everyone else's. So this is just an example of one way that you can make your Zoom class or your Zoom engagement with your faculty or whoever you might be presenting to, meetings. I like the Easter egg idea. I do that too, Mele. It's just one way that you can mix it up a little in terms of engaging people in a synchronous environment. The next thing I'm going to share with you is how to save the chat, because you may want to capture and document and share or respond to the chat that came in, the waterfall that came in. And in the chat window, you'll see 3 little dots, the ellipses. And if you click on that, there is the first link says save chat. And if you do that, it'll save the chat at whatever point you do that to your desktop. And so that's one way. You may already know this. We've all been in Zoom for 3 years now. You may already know. But if you don't, this is a super cool way to make sure that you capture everything that has been contributed in a chat in Zoom. All right, so let's go on now to the next category, which is communicating care. So yes.
We have 2 questions before you go to the next
Okay.
section.
All right.
We could.
Questions, sure.
That would make sense, I think, in context. So, so David's asking, how do you ensure students are not overwhelmed with too many platforms to, overwhelm them in a course, especially where to go for what and which assignments and all of that. But this is a 2-part. Carlo agrees and says that sometimes the number of tools seems overwhelming. So how do you decide? So how do you ensure students aren't overwhelmed, and how do you decide which tools to use and avoid simply adding more stuff?
Yeah, I mean, that is such an excellent question. This presentation is an overview of a variety of tools that you can use in a variety of ways. It's certainly not the suggestion to all of a sudden dump every single one of these tools into your course. You really have to make strategic decisions about how you enhance your instruction with technology, and what the learning curve is, and what you know about your students or your faculty in terms of being able to manage the learning curve, whatever that might be, for the use of the tools. And so my guidance for faculty when I'm working with them, or instructional designers, again, is making sure that you use the right tool for the job, and that my criteria for evaluating is it going to help you to achieve your instructional objective in a way that is better, more effective, more efficient, in an easier way, in a cheaper way, like better, faster, safer, easier, or cheaper is my sort of go-to phrase about selecting technologies, and then always making sure that whatever tool you decide, that it's worth that cost, and that it is something that the students are going to be able to do perhaps multiple times over the course of the semester, and that it's really worth that learning curve and the effort of creating the account and interacting in that platform. It really has to serve a pedagogical objective and meet that need in a way that couldn't be done in a different way, right? Or otherwise. Obviously, there are pluses and minuses to taking students outside the confines of the LMS. And so you have to be, discerning and judicious about when you're asking them to do that, and what the other stuff is that they have to do in the class, and definitely not creating a burden, either a technical burden or a time burden. It really has to be worth the cost. Whatever the activity is, really has to be worth the cost. So, sometimes the best tool for the job is, if you're a classroom-based teacher, is, a piece of chalk and the chalkboard. Sometimes it's a conversation. Sometimes it is the tools that are available to you readily within the 4 walls of your learning management system. And sometimes you just can't do what you need to do inside the learning management system. For example, for me, I want my students to be able to keep some of the stuff that they have designed or created beyond the end of the term. And if they have everything locked into the LMS when the semester ends, they lose access to the LMS. So there are certain activities that I want them to be able, that I want to persist, and I want them to continue to engage in beyond the end of my class and the term. So a blog is an example of a tool that I use in my instruction that it has an instructional objective. It's one of the objectives of my course to teach students to write and think publicly and engage in that public discourse on topics that are central to my course, which is Introduction to Online Teaching. And so I asked them to create a public blog and invite them to continue to reflect, to use reflective metacognitive journaling as a device for them long term. And so, you know, I want them to be able to have that beyond the end of the term. If I were to do the same type of an activity, which you can do, it's not a blog, then it's a journal, right? Or some reflective assignment, then they won't have access to that beyond the end of the term. It's not public, they don't own it, they can't customize it, and they can't continue to use metacognitive journaling beyond the end of my course. So that's where I decided that the lift of going and getting a blog and setting it up and whatever, it was worth the effort that I asked them to do. So hopefully that helps you with the response. Was there anything else, Erin?
One other question about you have suggestions for other asynchronous choice tools. So since Brightspace doesn't have an equivalent of, you know, I think it's similar to Mentimeter. I asked the question in the chat.
So asynchronous,
you know,
polling tools.
Yeah, they corrected and said that they mean choice. So I just wonder if Tracy's there, if she wants to elaborate.
Yeah. Can you unmute?
Choice tools.
Yep, sure. So we have a choice tool that we used in Moodle, and that's not available in Brightspace. And for instance, I'm using it where I have my event students are choosing a different destination. Each of them has to do a project, but on a different destination. So just trying to get them to choose one per student. And I had that in Moodle, don't have it in Brightspace, wondering if they're, and my classes are all asynchronous.
So I don't understand how the tool actually functions. Is it basically a poll and you ask?
Yeah, it's kind of a poll. For instance, I would give like 20 different destination options, and students could only choose one. And once that choice is made, no other student could take that choice.
I see. So it kind of, it's like first come, first serve.
Correct.
It blocks it out from being able to be chosen. All right, I'm going to have to think about that. And if you pop your email in the chat or send it to me privately, whatever you're comfortable with, I will think about that and ask around and see if there is an analogous tool for that. We also have a resource page. I'm not sure if there's anything like that on there, but I have a resource page similar to the synchronous one for asynchronous. And so I'll look for that in a minute and put that in the chat so that you can, there's a ton of stuff on there and you can take a look. But when you give me your name, just remind me what it is that you want me to check out for you, and I will look for something and ask folks around here for their suggestions too. Yeah,
I have two quick solutions, and Justin mentioned the same, which is self-enroll groups work for that kind of choice option. You just make the maximum of one or maximum of two if you want people to choose more than one, or more than one person to have the same destination. And also Jotform has some tools that work well for that sort of thing.
Great. Thank you, Doris.
Thank you.
Okay, so Doris, would you put that in the chat so that we have a record of what you just recommended? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's there already, but I'll put it one more time.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so let's move on to the other cool tool area or category, which is communicate care, and how you can do that in your instruction and in your teaching practices or in your work with faculty. So this is really, really important aspect, I think, and I'm going to go through some of the tools and the resources to help bring it, elevate it in your mind as something super important for student success, particularly online student success, where there is either asynchronous or synchronous distance between you and the learners, where you don't have that immediate, a physical face-to-face contact. And so one of the first things that I would suggest and recommend that you can do to target this notion of care or communicating care is in your syllabus. And it seems like a simple, intuitive thing, but sometimes, syllabi are things that don't get a lot of attention after you've created them. And so what I've done here is created a syllabus template. This is a Google Doc that you can go in and make a copy for yourself if you want to explore it further, or you can just look at it, as is. But the syllabus template was designed with care in mind, and also with as a model, so that you can use it in a couple of ways. You can actually take it as a copy and then make it your syllabus. And I know that there's lots of processes and procedures at different campuses. You may not have the flexibility. You may use tools like Simply Syllabus, or what's that other one that starts with a C? So there's some tools that campuses have adopted for making syllabi consistent and systematically approached. So then you can look at this as a model to see if your syllabus that you are using has some of these elements in it. And some of the things that I would highlight or point out to you are that the instructor using this syllabus is being asked to share their name, their preferred name and pronouns. This is a very simple and easy way to help students who have preferred names and pronouns that are, other, to give them a sense that they belong and that they have permission to share their preferred names and pronouns as well. I would also highlight and point out the basic needs statement. And for all of us who went through COVID experiences with online students in the last 3 years, we know how relevant and important the student context is, and many of our assumptions and our understanding of students' contexts and experiences during that time, we were made aware of them, and aware of some of the assumptions that we might have had about students' ability to access and do things. I think for me, it was a very sobering experience to understand, that not everyone has the same privilege that I do. And I know that, obviously, I think most of us were here because we care, and we understand that, there are challenges that people have in their lives, but COVID really, really made that so crystal clear. So I would encourage you to think about having a basic needs statement in your syllabus. I would also encourage, just like the instructor of this syllabus is sharing their names and pronouns, here is the invitation for students to share their names and pronouns with the instructor and with the class. I think, regular and substantive interaction is another thing that is unique about this syllabus. It states it and allows you to focus on it specifically. And if you are curious about regular and substantive interaction, we have lunchtime webinars that we do just on this topic. It is a Department of Education regulation that everyone needs to be aware of. And so by calling it out like this in your syllabus, you are taking one step towards making sure that you are able to demonstrate that you comply with this regulation. And, you know, I'll invite you to come to or watch a recording of our session on regular and substantive interaction to learn more about that. And then the other thing that I have in here, there's so much in here that you want to be able to explain to students about expectations for your course. And that's one of the other things that I think is highlighted specifically for online students so that they can very clearly understand what is expected and what they're going to be asked to do and all of that. And there's, you know, all of these typical things that you typically find in a syllabus, but kind of to the nth degree, right? Like all of the course policies are labeled here. One that's new that I've added is the use of artificial intelligence in coursework, and you can choose to use it or not use it, or use it under specific circumstances, but you need to let the students know what your expectations are, because if you don't tell them, they won't know. So so that is one of the strategies for supporting academic integrity and helping students to understand what the expectations are. So yeah, so there's a lot of stuff in here that I want you to take a look at and check, use it as a model to check with your own syllabus, or actually use it as a template. You can take it. This is a free open license tool that you can use as you like. In the same vein, thinking about syllabi, I want to point you to the Liquid Syllabus by Michelle Pacansky-Brock, and you may already be familiar with the Liquid Syllabus. So there's a really short video here, a 2-minute long video that explains the sort of concept behind the Liquid Syllabus. And if you know Michelle, you know that she is, you know, her main thing is about humanizing online teaching and learning. It is one of her, you know, main topic focus areas. So I will invite you to take a look at some examples of a Liquid Syllabus and take a look at this video so that you can learn more about how you can humanize your instruction by designing what she calls a Liquid Syllabus. And then more information about humanizing online learning. Again, we're in the category of communicating care. And by humanizing yourself and your online activities, whether they're synchronous or asynchronous, and even this applies to, you know, face-to-face instruction, honestly, all of this really can be adapted and applied to any mode of instruction. But specifically, this humanizing online teaching and learning has become the subject of MOOCs, books, presentations, and this is an openly licensed book that is written by a number of big names in the field of online teaching and learning, and really covers the range of topics around the issues of how to humanize your online teaching and learning. So, for example, communicating with your learners using videos, social learning, the affordances of technology. There's some that is discipline specific here, and then using synchronous and asynchronous media. So I'll invite you to look at this as a resource. Michelle recently has been involved in this Humanizing STEM Online project. And if you are a STEM instructor, I highly recommend that you come and take a look at the resources in this project. It is a wonderful, you know, approach to targeting humanizing online learning in STEM disciplines. And so I will invite you to explore this if you happen to be a STEM instructor, to think more specifically within your discipline about how you might be able to do that. And so there's a toolkit and a ton of resources. One of those resources is an infographic that Michelle has designed about how to humanize, some specific principles and pedagogy behind it, establishing trust, presence, awareness. Many of these things may be very familiar to you already if you're an online instructor or instructional designer, but the framework that she is using with the underpinning of humanizing being the goal is just a really wonderful way to think about communicating care within your instructional practices. So I'll invite you to take a look at this. Again, liquid syllabus is one of the ways, a humanized homepage, getting to know you. These are all wonderful ways that you can humanize your instruction. So I'll invite you to take a look at that. Then I think the last thing I have here for Michelle's humanizing stuff is the article that was written, and I have the citation in the document that you'll get in your goodie bag if you're interested in reading the article that that she and some colleagues put together, that is kind of an overview or a description of all of this in a scholarly article type format. So I'll invite you to take a look at that if you're interested. The next tool that I want to share with you is this really exciting project that I am currently co-leading. It's a national project. We have 60 plus institutions, including some international organizations that are involved in taking 54 inclusive teaching practices and adapting them for online teaching and learning environments and annotating them with specific suggestions and practices that any instructional designer or online instructor can leverage to infuse diversity, equity, and inclusion, inclusive teaching practices, sense of belonging, those kinds of activities into their online course designs, into their online teaching and learning practices. And so what you're seeing here is the prototype, the platform that we are designing to present these inclusive teaching online teaching practices. This is a free and openly licensed tool. These are 6 of the 54 practices. Building rapport with learners, co-creating an online learning community agreement. I'll just open one of them so you can see what it is like. You'll see at the top a bunch of metadata. That's so that you can search and sort these practices in a variety of ways. But then we have the actual sort of description. And so there's an aspirational statement. There are some specific techniques. There's an overview. And then there are even more detailed specific techniques about how to implement this practice in online environments, whether they're synchronous or asynchronous. And so you can see how detailed this is. The online creating an agreement is an ice-breaking activity you can do at the start of a course to make sure that everyone feels like they have a voice, everyone feels like they belong and are included, and it takes some effort to design. You have to brainstorm, so you can use a tool like Jamboard to brainstorm all the things that are important to people in the class, so that they can feel a sense of belonging and so that they can express what can help or hinder their learning. And then you have to create some consensus on some ground rules for the class, and then adopt those practices that everyone agrees to, that they're going to abide by during the course of the course. And that is, one thing you can do to create a sense of belonging and community and care in your online instruction. The very coolest thing about this project and this tool is that we are creating it so that it will allow you to sort those 54 inclusive teaching practices by OSCAR standards. OSCAR is our online course quality rubric, but you can also sort it by the Quality Matters rubric if you happen to use Quality Matters, or you can also sort it by the CVC OEI rubric. And we're going to create sorts. This platform will allow us to create any number of ways to view the inclusive teaching practices based on the online course quality rubric that you may happen to use at your institution or in your own online design or instruction activities. So you have the link to this, you can explore it. This is in development. Like I said, these are the first 6 that have been edited. If you want to learn more about this project, I've included the link to the site where we talk about what this project has been about. We've been working on it for about 2 years now, a year and a half. And you can see who is involved and what our status is. These are all of the people who are volunteering. They're all volunteers. They work every month on the design of a practice, and then we meet once a month to peer review each other's work. And then we're working with an editor. My co-leads and I are working with an editor to edit all of the practices and publish them in that platform that I mentioned. So just want to point this resource out to you for you to use as you like. The next resource that I wanted to share with you is a list of SUNY resources that I've collected to help faculty and instructional designers think about supporting access, diversity, equity, and inclusion in online teaching and learning. And there are a bunch of categories of information. There are rubrics. The Peralta rubric is awesome. The other ones there are 2. There are some presentations, some videos, some courses you can take. There's a citation there for some research, some reports, and then a bunch of articles, guides, some how-tos, some examples, more on syllabi, stuff for educators, some discipline-specific stuff, some tools, etc. So I'll invite you to come back here and take a look and see if there's anything in there that resonates and that you might be able to explore further. In that list, oops, this is not coming up. In that list, under the syllabus tools is this syllabus tool that you can actually use to, you can actually put your own syllabus or the readings in your syllabus into this tool, and it will help you understand, to give you a sense of gender balance in the materials for your course. And I thought this was a super cool tool, and I would invite you to check it out and see, just so that it's just to help you to understand and build awareness. Sometimes we don't realize, that we're only showing, materials by one particular type of person. And so that awareness is the first step to making some changes. Another thing about awareness is you're not aware of it until someone points it out to you. And so one of the things that's also another cool tool listed on that resources page is the common practice of referring to a group of people as guys. So one will sometimes say, hey guys, or hi guys, or do you guys know this? Or, and I'm hyper aware of this, but I still, it's kind of like ingrained, right? You just sometimes it just comes out by default. So this cool little tool here is a generator that allows you to consider other alternatives to guys. And, it's just a fun little tool that if you keep hitting enter, it keeps on giving you other alternatives to the use of the word guy. So just a fun little thing to check out. So this one is also kind of personal for me. And when I was learning about, as part of this lead of this DEI project, I have expertise in instructional design, but I'm also a woman. I'm a woman of color. I'm from certain marginalized groups, as we all may be. But one of the things that that I became aware of in learning about this had to do with, and I've been reflecting on this probably since I was in my 20s, is my name. And you may know me as Alex or Alexandra Pickett, but my name is actually Alexandra Pickett. I am, my mom was Colombian and my dad was American, and I was named Alexandra Pickett. And in my 20s, I decided to change to Alex when I got my first professional job. And the part of the reason, or the reason, was because people mispronounce my name all the time. And as a 20-year-old young woman, I hated it. I really, really hated it. And so I decided to change myself, my identity, in order to accommodate other people's inability or lack of patience or lack of time or whatever the heck it was to figure out how to say my name correctly. So I invite you to think about that from your own perspective, whether you also have a name that is unique, or whether you also have a name that might be difficult to pronounce, or when you're getting to know your students, how important it is to take the time to understand how to say the person's name as correctly as you possibly can. And so I did a little bit of exploring. That page that I was just on is a really cool page to check out. So I'll invite you to check that out. But I'm going to share with you the correct pronunciation of my name on this page, and you can learn how to pronounce people's names on this website. It's called howtopronounce.com. So here's how,
Alexandra.
that's how you say my name correctly.
Alexandra.
That is not how you say my name correctly.
Alexandra.
So again.
Alexandra.
Yep. That's it, Alexandra. All right, so I want to invite you to think about that and to explore some of those tools and to give it a try with your own students, friends, colleagues. If you have a question and are not sure how to pronounce someone's name, ask them and then listen and then try. And it really is important, and it really goes a long way to helping people feel included and like they belong and like you care. All right, so I do a whole session on supporting online student success. This is about how you can share practices, what practices faculty can do to help students, online students, be more successful. I'm going to invite you to come back to this resource. I'm conscious of the time here to explore. Again, I do a whole webinar just on this, and I want to invite you to look at the recording of this when you have a chance. But there are lots of things faculty can do in their teaching as well as in their design of their courses to support online learner success, and this is all related to supporting self-regulated learning strategies in online learners. So this will help you understand not only what to do, but why and what it's actually doing when you do it. I think I have, that's it in terms of the stuff I wanted to show to you. And so I'm going to ask if there's any questions, Erin, and if we have time and if people are here still hanging out, we can talk about them.
Thanks, Alex. So many great resources. So I put in the chat where you can find links to today's recording. It'll just be there probably by the next day or so. All of the links that were shared are on one document and in one folder, so that's also in the chat. I'll put those in again while we take questions. But if you do have to run, we're going to continue the recording to capture any questions for folks that can stay. And if not, we thank you for joining, for those of you that have to run.
So if ever anyone is still interested, I want to make sure that you see what is in that goodie bag. There's a link to the presentation, a link to the Peralta rubric, the links, the Cool Tool links page. And then I wanted to make sure that you knew that you could sign up to be a friend of SUNY if you're not from SUNY, or you could sign up in an interested role if you are from SUNY, or whatever role you happen to fit in. And I'll invite you to do that so that we can continue this conversation, and we can send you information when we do cool presentations like this or have resources we want to share. I also wanted to mention that we have an online networking group that you are invited to join, and that group is in Facebook, and the links to all of these bonus resources are on that links page, so you can come back at a later time and click on the link and join this community. And I want to give you a badge for having come and participated in this two-part webinar series. And so you can get an online teaching participation badge by filling out this form. The platform that we use is Credly, so you'd have to create an account at some point. And then you can take a look at all of the badges that we offer. The participation badge is in our community engagement series of badges, and you would earn this badge, community participant, for coming and being interested in learning more about these cool tools. You can also earn the Friend of SUNY badge or any of the online teaching fellow badges also by filling out the form. And then again, Erin had mentioned where the webinar recordings are. That link is also on that links page. So you can see part 1 is there now. Part 2, Marjorie, if you're still there, part 2 will be there in the next couple of days. And then I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us, me and Erin. Thanks to Erin for all of her support and help, and to all of you, whether you're from SUNY or outside of SUNY, for caring and creating community and connection, and for thinking about your content, and for coming to join us to participate in this webinar. And I hope to continue the conversation with you in some of the different ways that we've talked about and explored today. So thank you very, very much, everyone. And I'm going to hang out just a little bit to see if anyone has any additional questions. You can unmute if you want. Oh, I see friends. George and Andrea, and oh my goodness, Marjorie's there. I see you, and Doris, and all of you. Thank you so much for joining. And hopefully we'll see you at our next one. Erin, when is our next? Are we done for our spring series now? We're done, right?
This is it for the spring semester. Yep. So at the end of summer, probably end of July or beginning of August, you'll see a new posting for fall.
Awesome. So if you don't forget that little trick about saving the chat, if you want, you can. It's those 3 little dots in the chat window, and it'll save it to your desktop. And so yeah, thank you very much, everyone.